What's up, everyone, and welcome to Scourge of War Waterloo, episode 33. Before we get into the scenario we're playing today, I briefly want to talk about a quick update that was done to the Grog toolbar a couple of weeks back. I haven't talked about it because the past like 8 videos or so, where we were focusing on the Battle of Ligny as the French and as the Prussians. I had mentioned during those videos that I had just gunned out all kind of 14 hours of both of those scenarios in one weekend, and it was back in December that I had actually played those scenarios. And it's because of the length of those scenarios, it just provided a lot of content and took a long time to get through in terms of the videos for YouTube. Um, and because I had did them, back in December, I hadn't that update didn't exist, and so until we got through those videos for the Battle of Ligny, I just figured I wouldn't even bother talking about it because I hadn't downloaded the new update for the Grog toolbar, and the videos that I did for the Eagle Triumphs and the Old Fox Fights Back were all with the old Grog toolbar anyway, so there was no real point in talking about it. However, I only did the playthroughs for Wavre a couple of days ago, and I've since downloaded um, the newest version of the Grog toolbar. Um, there's not really any kind of major difference between the old Grog toolbar and the new one that just came out a couple of weeks ago. Um, all it really adds is an option for artillery battery commanders to basically select the munitions that the artillery battery is going to use. You're able to select either shot or shell or shrapnel or canister. Um, in all actuality, it was a request by another member of the Norbsoft forums. I don't really know the purpose of having the ability to select munitions from the battery commander. The only way I could even see that coming into play or coming into use is if you were going to have not only the battery commander, but the guns themselves under take charge. Um, then obviously the guns themselves would be brainless zombies, and yeah, you would have to tell them what munitions to use. If uh, if units came within canister range, you would have to tell the guns to use canister. If they were, far away, you would have to tell them to use shot or shell. Um, but that's like the only real reason I could see to even have a function like that available. As I've mentioned in the Grog Toolbar Demystified series when I covered artillery, I only ever TC the battery commander. And that's really just so the battery commander doesn't go and start moving the guns all over the place. Really, I just think of the battery commander as a way to move all the guns in the battery at once. Other than that, I don't really use the battery commander for anything. Um, Other than maybe selecting specific targets, whether I want the AI to target infantry or to target artillery or to target a specific unit or to just have the AI choose the target, which is 99% of the time what I normally do. But the guns themselves, I always leave under AI control because the AI is far better at determining what targets to attack and what type of ammunition to use uh, than even I am. And you guys know I'm a micromanagement nutcase as far as ITC supply wagons because I don't think they're diligent enough in terms of resupplying units. So I'm a very hands-on micromanager, and even I think that's too much. The AI does a fine job of handling the guns themselves within the battery. The only reason I TC the battery commander is just because he'll go moving the guns all over the place, and trust my judgment of where to place the guns a lot better than I trust the battery commanders. And that's the only reason I TC the battery commanders, just so when once I place them, they basically stay put. But the guns themselves, they move around within their little area that they're deployed, and they're constantly shifting and looking for different targets. And the AI does a fine job at that, much better than I would ever do. In terms of actually picking each target for each individual gun. So I've never ever felt the need to actually control the guns themselves once they're placed. When enemy units come within canister range, the guns always know to switch to canister. I don't have to tell them to do that. They always pick the closest target available to them anyway. Once in a while, I might use the choose specific target, command from the battery commander, but to actually choose the munitions that the battery's going to use, I just don't see the point of having that command in there. I mean, it's not a bad thing to have it in there. I mean, there's no such thing as too much control, I guess, but I don't see how I would ever use it. And even since downloading it, I haven't used it at all. Um, so I don't by any means think that this is like a necessary upgrade or a necessary download to get a new Grog toolbar. If you want it, head over to the Norbsoft expanded Grog toolbar page. It's the same link I posted in episode 1, the introduction of the series, in the description. Just click on it, and the download has been updated to the newest Grog toolbar, and you can download it. I did just because I always like to keep updated with the newest versions of the Grog toolbar. But this is an addition I just don't really get. I don't see the point. I always leave the guns under AI control anyway, and the AI has never ever given me reason to question the way I do things as far as leaving the guns under AI control. They always select the best targets. They always switch to the correct munitions without me having to, make sure they do it. The AI does a great job at handling the guns themselves. I just don't like the way the battery commander never really can. If you leave the battery commander under AI control, I just feel like they never really select a good location to place the guns. They'll kind of go one place and then they'll move to another, and it takes them forever to actually find a location that they actually want to set their battery up. Which is why I never ever let the AI control the battery commander. I'll can take control of the battery commander, but I always leave the guns under AI control, and there's never been any reason for me to think that there's a better way to do it than that because it works fine. So yeah, that's basically what I just wanted to mention early on here is that yeah, there has been an update to the Grok toolbar. Like I said, if you guys want it, um, just go to the first video in the series, the episode 1, the introduction. I placed the link to the Norbsoft forum page where you can download the Grog toolbar. And as I said, they always keep that link updated with the newest one. So it now has the newest one, and if you click on it, you'll get the newest one. But like I said, I don't really feel that there's any. It's not one I'm pushing on you guys because I just don't feel that it's a necessary update because the only thing it adds is the ability for battery commanders to select the munitions for the cannon, and I just don't see it as necessary. If you leave the guns under AI control the way I do, they're going to ignore your battery commander's order to use. If it's the wrong munition, if you choose shot for an enemy unit that's 150 yards away, your guns are going to ignore you because they know canister is the munition to use in that circumstance. And if you tell them to use canister and the closest unit is 800 yards away, they're going to ignore you and use shot or shell because they know canister doesn't reach out that far. So, like I said, the only reason I could possibly see to have the ability to select munitions from the battery commander um, is if all the other units were on TC, maybe. But I mean, if all the other units or if the guns are all on TC, then wouldn't you not be able to select the munitions from the TC from the brigade battery commander anyway? Because you, they don't follow orders from a superior officer if they're on TC. So I wouldn't even work that way. I just don't understand it. I don't understand why that command is having those commands is necessary. But again, it was a request from another forum member. Um, it wasn't something that like Reb Bugler was going to put into the Grog toolbar. I don't think it was just an easy request to fill, I guess. And I just don't see the point. So I'm not pushing this one on you guys. I don't think it's necessary. If you want to keep going with the Grog toolbar you have, it's virtually identical to the one I'm using now. And the only difference is a difference that you won't even ever see me use because I just don't get the point of it. So anyway, let's begin here. Let's get this video going. And so today we are going to be taking a look at the Prussian scenario for the Battle of Wavre, called Bridge over the River Dyle. Um, it's 2 hours long. It's considered an army scenario, but most of what we're commanding is the Third Corps. That is von Thielmann's corps. They were in command of the kind of the Tangrenelle area at the Battle of Ligny. They weren't very heavily engaged historically, so they became the rear guard here at Wavre as the rest of the army tried to saddle westwards towards Waterloo. So it's a relatively short scenario. Certainly nothing compared to what we just dealt with the Eagle Triumphs and the Old Fox Fights Back. It's only 2 hours long. It starts at 4 p.m. and goes to 6 p.m. And the situation is the French pursuit has finally caught up with the Prussian army. Van Damme's corps is attacking to force a crossing over the Dyle at Wavre. Other elements of the French pursuing forces are continuing to arrive on the battlefield, and the mission is defend the river crossings along the Dyle to allow the other three corps of the Prussian army to join with Wellington and fight the main French forces under Napoleon. Okay, so if we scroll down, we will take a quick look at the map here. Okay, so we have a whole bunch of brigades here of the Third Corps and some cavalry in the rear. Now here's Wavre right here, and then the River Dyle kind of goes kind of like in a southwesterly kind of direction. Uh, and our forces are spread pretty thin. Most of what we have is concentrated at Wavre and extending southwards towards the Birges here. Down here at Le Malet and Limelet in this area, we have a very small smattering of forces here that are kind of anchoring our rightmost flank and protecting the two bridges across the Dyle at Le Malet and at Limelet. Wavre is a restricted terrain map, and what that basically means is the river is considered uncrossable for the most part. It's considered to have been flooded. Obviously, the night of June 17th, 1815, was the night of the huge rainstorm. That's they show it in the movie Waterloo. It was a deluge of epic proportions, and the River Dyle is swollen and flooded. So theoretically, the only crossing points are at the bridges. There's one bridge in the center of Wavre. There's one or two actually that cross at Birges, one in front of the other. We actually covered that situation in oh god, I don't even remember the episode. It was one of the early brigade scenarios. It was Hulot attacks. I think it might have been. I think it might have been episode 7. Don't quote me on that. I don't remember that far back. But yeah, it was a brigade scenario called Hulot attacks, and we covered the situation at the Birges crossing in that episode. And then there were two more bridges down here, one at Le Malet and one at Limelet. So in practice, the river is supposed to be considered impractical. I'm sorry, uncrossable. In play, though, that's not exactly true. There are a number of what I call secret fords. Now, I don't know if these are glitches in the gameplay or if they were actually kind of hidden fords that you could still use on that day. I don't know the history of the battle to that extent where I could say, yeah, there were actually fords that the French used to try and cross the river. As far as I know, the French were never able to effect a crossing of the Dyle on the first day of the battle, and it wasn't until much later in the first day of the battle that they were able to force the river down here and get across at Le Malet and push this small group of Prussians here back and actually start getting Pajol's cavalry and some of Gerard's corps across the river late in the day on the first day. and yeah, so there are a couple of what I call hidden fords, um, that the French troops can actually kind of get across. It doesn't look like the AI always knows where they are, because sometimes you'll see them try to use it, they'll get stuck, they'll wander around, and it doesn't look like the AI actually knows where these fords are, which is a good thing. Um, I kind of know where they are because just I can see the areas that the French are able to get across. So I know the areas that can get across. Basically, the center bridge right here, to the left of the front of the main bridge, in front of the courtyard right here. There's a secret ford that the French can get across. Directly to the right of the bridge, over on this side, there's a secret ford. There's one more down here, kind of between Wavre and the Bierges, and that's it. There's nothing past that. You can't get across any part of the river down by the Bierges and anywhere down here. It's all uncrossable. So the only secret fords are kind of up by the town, and then one kind of halfway between the town and Bierges. So basically, what we have to do is defend all these crossing points. Most of our forces are concentrated around Wavre. We're going to make use of the dense roads, or the dense population of buildings, and basically what we want to do is control the roads through the town of Wavre. We want to control the big courtyard because there's a crossing right in front of it, and if we control the cross or the courtyard, we can get a lot of troops in there. We also want to control the area to the right of Wavre because there's a secret crossing there, but there's a lot of room for us to deploy troops just outside of the town there. Bierges, very easy. They can only cross at the rivers. It's very easy to set up cannon to blow any unit apart that tries to try to cross those bridges, and pretty much a couple of skirmisher units will do it. And we'll also throw skirmisher units kind of in front of on the opposite bank of the river here, kind of all the way from just outside of Wavre all the way to through the Bierges area. Um, Down here, we're just going to do the best we can with what we have to work with. We don't have a lot of units down here. We have a cavalry regiment. We have a couple of units and one artillery battery. If the French come in force, there's nothing we can do about it. We're gonna have to pull back. But there's two objectives here. There's one for Le Male and one for Limelette, and we're gonna hold on to them as long as possible. There's also an objective for Beatrice, and there's also an objective for Wavre. The objectives in this scenario are really not worth a lot. Each one is worth 100 points every 5 minutes. So if you break that down, it's like 20 points a minute. Put four of them together. If you have all four of them, that's 80 points a minute for all four of them. So that's not a lot in terms of what we need for a major victory. So while we do want to hold them, they are points, and they will add up over time. We have to inflict a lot of casualties on the French to get to where we need to be, because the objectives alone are not going to get you there. So you know, we're going to try and bring a lot of cannon into close range. We're going to set up a whole skirmisher line kind of along the river here and bring cannon up behind them. Remember, cannon's line of sight is not blocked by skirmishers, so we can bring them up real close and use a lot of canister fire. That'll get us a lot of points. Tough to really use cannon in the town, but we're going to use a lot of skirmishers and try and hold on to possession of the town. We're going to keep units in reserve, and I should say that when the scenario starts out, your forward units, the first kind of like 3 units at the very edge of the town up against the river here, they're in bad shape. They start off in bad shape in terms of their morale and their fatigue. That's probably to simulate the fact that they were in a delaying action in front of the town in the Grand Pont area that we covered in, oh geez, what was that, episode 13 maybe, was Le Grand Pont, and we covered that situation. And so these units that are now have fallen back um, over the river and into Wavre are those supposed to be those units, and their shaky morale and their shaky fatigue is basically meant to simulate the fact that they've already been fighting forward of Wavre in the Le Grand Pont area that we covered in episode 13, and have now been pushed back and retreated, and their shaky morale and their shaky fatigue are basically meant to to simulate that they've already been fighting. So those units, you want to grab them and pull them back as quickly as possible, because strength-wise, in terms of the number of men they have, it's the same number of men they had at the beginning of in Le Grand Pont. The losses aren't what's simulated. Only the morale and fatigue are what's simulated. So those are actually still good units. You just need to pull them back, give them time to recuperate their morale, recuperate their fatigue, and they're brand new units. They haven't The losses aren't reflected uh, in their strength, only the morale and their fatigue. So pull them back and let them rest and get their fatigue back up, and in a half hour they'll be good to go, and we can actually use them, rather than let them stand there, get shot up, and they rout, which is what they're there to do in the first place. Um, is they're already shaky, they're already fatigued. The idea is that you don't notice it, and they end up very quickly routing. But if you notice it and pull them back before they have a chance to get shot up and routed, then just in a half hour they'll be good to go and we can reuse them. So we have some other units here and here that we can, and in the center of town, that we can bring up to temporarily take their place while those units recover, and then we'll be able to use those units that we're not really meant to use. They're supposed to get routed. And we have some reserves back here we can use. Really what we want to do is just defend the crossings and the secret fords, and stop the French from getting across the river. It's not hard as far as the strategy of it. It's difficult in terms of trying to manage your forces and keep an eye on everything at once, because the battle starts at a fever pitch and just keeps going all the way through the scenario. It never really slows down. It's just a bang fest the entire way through. Um, the other thing I should mention, this is one of the few scenarios. A lot of the army scenarios that we've been playing so far um, are written so that the officers start out under take charge conditions, meaning they won't do anything on their own. And you usually see that in the courier notes when you get your initial orders. It'll say, "Note: all officers are start off on take charge." That's not the case in this scenario. They don't start off on take charge. In fact, nobody starts off on take charge except you're the officer you play, which is von Thielmann. So if you don't want your army to go crazy and start running off and doing God knows what right at the beginning of the scenario, then as soon as that scenario boots up and the screen comes up, you hit that TC all subordinates button, and hit it a couple of times, because it doesn't always go off right on the first one. Um, to lock down your unit so that they don't start moving without you knowing about it. So when that scenario boots up, immediately click that TC all subordinates button. Not even the TC all officers button. I'm talking everything. TC everybody, because you don't know what orders the AI sends out the instant the scenario boots up. So you want to basically intercept the AI from doing anything um, before you have a chance to get a grasp on the situation, because otherwise it's hard to go and then get control of everything if everything starts going off all at once, before you have a chance to do anything. So before you get the courier message, before anything happens, hit that take charge TC all subordinates button and just lock your whole army into position, because you're only going to need to move a few units at the beginning at first anyway. So it's not going to kill you. It's not going to kill you to have all your forces on TC. And because some of these units are not even under von Thielmann's command, even when you hit TC all subordinates, some units are actually just detached units that are not even attached to von Thielmann's command. So when you TC all subordinates, you're not going to TC them. The units down here, they're not part of von Thielmann's command. They're independent units. The units at the Bierges crossing, they're not attached to von Thielmann. So when you hit TC all subordinates, they're not going to go under take charge either. Fortunately, no fighting starts out right here. The fighting all starts out right by Wavre. So even though you're not going to take command of these forces, it's okay. They're not going to do anything anyway, because there's no fighting by them. There's no enemy units by them at the beginning anyway. All the fighting starts out around Wavre and then slowly proliferates this way down towards the Bierges. So yeah, when the scenario boots up, just remember TC all subordinates. So your army your forces do not go and start wandering off and doing a whole bunch of stuff uh, on their own. And like I said, the main part of the fighting is going to be here in the town of Wavre, and basically we want to defend the bridge crossing in the center of town, the secret ford in front of the courtyard, and another secret crossing kind of just to the southwest of the town in kind of an open area. Um, and yeah, we're going to use a lot of skirmishers. We'll use counter charges when we have to, but spend as much time as we can actually shooting the French up, and only charge them if they actually get too close, and you have no recourse but to charge them. Because if you charge them and they win, no problem. You can just hit them with another unit and then they'll break. And if you charge and you win, then you've repulsed them. So it's very hard for the French to get more than 1 or 2 units across at a time. And so you should always have the superiority of numbers while within the town. So yeah, I think that's it for the strategy session, guys. Scroll down a little bit more here. And okay, so yeah, we're commanding the Third Army Corps, which is von Thielmann's corps. And as I said, some of these units are not really attached to him in terms of the order of battle in the game. So when you TC all subordinates, they will not respond to that command because they're not really under von Thielmann's command. So he has most of his corps, and then there's a bunch of independent units that are basically on their own. We need 15,000 points for a major victory. That's a lot. That's a lot. There's no way we're going to get that with just these objectives. Note, there is a note here. Generals von Kempfen and von Luck and Witten, von Luck und Witten, start the scenario in TC status. All right, so 2 officers, 2 brigade commanders start in TC, and they're probably reserve units that the AI, the scenario doesn't want the AI to move forward right at the beginning of the game, and that's probably why they put them in TC. But it's not like the other scenarios where all officers start on TC. So like I said, you have to lock down your army at the beginning and then start moving the units you need to move. So yeah, we need to inflict a lot of casualties, and we need to hold on to all 4 objectives for quite a long time. But it's tough to hold on to those bottom 2 at Le Male and Limolette because you have such a small amount of forces there that you're probably just going to delay the French at Limolette, but you're going to end up pulling back to Le Male, and you're probably going to end up with just three out of 4. But if you inflict enough casualties, we should be able to hit this. You really have to inflict a lot of casualties because, trust me, the objectives alone are not enough. So all right, let's launch this baby. Now, as you'll see, the very first thing I'm going to do here is start mashing that TC all subordinates button. Before anything happens, that's what I'm going to do. And there it goes. There I'm on it right there, and I'm checking to make sure it worked. Nope, not yet. You can see one of the shaken status of these units. So now I'm looking for the leader. There we go, and I'm hitting it again, and let's check the unit again. Well, first, here is the orders. General Lieutenant Thielmann, you are to hold 3rd Corps along the Dyle as the rear guard of the army. If the French appear to your front in force, then hold the crossings of the Dyle at all cost. If there is no serious pursuit by the French, then leave a small rear guard at Wavre and follow 1st Corps via Ohain towards Mont Saint Jean. And that is from Blucher, who is on his way to Waterloo as we speak. Okay, so let's run this forward again. And you can see we have about 27,000 men under our command. Okay, so now my units are TC'd. You can see their morale is shaken. They're very tired. And a lot of these front units here are in that shape. So you can see this unit is in that shape, and the first thing I'm going to do is not let it get involved in fighting. All right, that is a message from one of our corps division commanders letting us know that the French are beginning their attack on Wavre. And here is one of the secret fords right here that the French are making their way across. And you can see I am pulling this unit with the shaky morale. I am pulling them back so that they don't get routed, and I'll be able to use them later. And I'm going to bring this unit over into the front here. Now, it's going to take them a while to cross at the ford because it really slows you up. And I'm moving this unit into line to stop these units that are trying to cross the bridge. And I'm also making sure I gain control of the courtyard because there is a secret ford kind of right around here. So you can see I'm pulling this unit with the shaky morale back and this other unit here with the shaky morale back. I'm going to start advancing my guns and getting them closer to the action where they can actually inflict some damage. I don't want to bring them into the town because it's going to be hard to place them, and it's also going to be hard to retreat them if they get cornered by French infantry as they cross the town. It is a little hairy here. You can see there are a ton of French troops. This is basically Van Damme's whole corps on the field here. And we have, we're spread pretty thin. We're lucky that we are behind a flooded river, because if there was no river here, this position would be indefensible. So I'm getting skirmishers off to guard the crossings. And you can see I have my my shaky unit falling back. I've just decided to retreat them. And I'm going to grab some of my reserve regiments and start moving them towards the center of town. Both because I want to occupy the objective and have enough men there to actually occupy it, and so that I have reserves close at hand. So here you can see I'm deploying a fresh line of infantry in the courtyard with the shaky line behind them so that they have a chance to recuperate. This is still a big unit. I want them to recover their morale and their fatigue. Their morale is okay, but they need some rest on the fatigue, so I'm going to back them up even more and let them get a rest while this fresh unit handles what's going on in front. So this unit is a fresh unit now, big unit, 734 men, and we should be able to, just by the sheer number of muskets, we should be able to get the better of this French battalion in front of us. And of course we will place some skirmishers right in front to screen us. And the French are also sending some skirmishers across the... These guys are having some trouble finding the ford. These guys seem to have found it, I think. And these guys are moving out towards here's the Beerges area right here. We have artillery and we have 3 battalions whose morale is kind of shaky. We're going to buy them some time by splitting off some skirmishers to go guard the front crossing here. There's no secret fords here. The only way across is these 2 bridges. So it's a pretty good defensible position. Now these French units that are trying to cross the river at the fords here, and they're, these units here basically running sideways through the river, they're looking for the ford. They can't really find it. So they can't cross, and they're just kind of stuck in the river. And they're catching hell from fire. Look at this unit. You guys need to step back. And yeah, they probably just advanced because I probably didn't place them right in terms of giving them enough room to set up in line. But I want to move them back so that they can recover their fatigue. We've already got a melee going on here. And this is a big Prussian unit here, 630 something men. And the French are sending a whole bunch of units over. So this is kind of a suicide charge here. I'm really looking to just rout some of the units and take out as many French as I can before my unit gets routed. Alright, so I've moved a whole nother brigade that was over on the right here, and I've moved them into this position um, along the open area here, just to the right of the town. And I'm going to set up one unit here in reserve, while the other two units set up kind of here and over here. So this unit here is going to be placed in reserve. In case any one of these front units break, I can just shift them into position. So we won our first charge here, but now we're getting hit with another one. And this one I wasn't expecting. So, and there's two French units here, so my unit is probably not going to survive this. They're already down to 500 men. Well, it looks like they're getting the best of this one, but they're losing a lot of men. We're down to 430. And there's more French. You know, I see that they're probably not going to survive this, so I'm bringing another unit up to the main crossing here. See if I can set them up in line. All right, so the French unit surrendered. So let's see if I can get my unit back in. Oh boy, are they a lot smaller now, though. They're down to 380 men, so they've lost half their number in that charge. And here comes more French. I mean, just charging across this bridge. And I can't imagine this unit is going to survive much longer. Their morale is just, it's tanking. Done, routed. So, yeah, instantly my unit was slaughtered. And, you know, I've talked about this before. You know, if you're not the Imperial Guard, you just can't get stuck in charge after charge after charge. You're not going to survive. The only troops that can do that is the Imperial Guard. And then, okay, here's the other ford I was talking about, I believe is right here. So yeah, there's one. So now the French are storming across this bridge. Holy crap. Whole lot of units here, at least 4 battalions. And again, we're just going to have to try and charge them and stem the tide here of these French that are just pouring across the bridge at this point. So we're in another melee here. And looks like we're doing okay. We're gaining points. It's not a super bloody melee yet. Let's see if we can just get these French to withdraw. I would rather set up in here and actually just get a firefight going with my larger unit, which is slowly being whittled down here. And still more units are pouring in across the bridge. So this bridge is really the crossing point that the French are going for here. So I don't know how this French officer managed to run through my lines without getting himself killed. But yeah, once again, we have another unit here that's just being involved in melee after melee after melee. And yep, I'm going to have to bring up another unit because these guys are just getting charged over and over and over again by these French that are just careening across this bridge. And they're probably not going to survive. So yep, they're routed. And they surrendered. So we've just, in the span of about 3 minutes, we have just lost, you know, about 1,500 men in these French infantry charges across the bridge. So this is a bloodbath right off the bat here. And this is why I said it gets, you know, it's just full bang all the way through this battle. The French are relentless in terms of trying to press their infantry attack. And you really don't have any time to set up. It's just right out of the gate. They just come a-charging. So none of the crap we did in, you know, the old Fox Fights Back with sending out a whole bunch of skirmishers to stall up the French. None of that's going to work here. We are fighting for our lives as the French are just continuing to press across this river with everything they've got. And they've already eaten up 2 full battalions of Prussian infantry here, and they're still coming. And I'm throwing all my reserves into the center right now to try and get this under control. I can't pull anything from the right or the left because the French are pouring in on this side of the town. They're pouring in on they're everywhere. So this is a really crazy battle, and I'm just pouring everything I've got into trying to push these French back across the bridge, or at least bottle them up in the front of the bridge. You know, now we got a French unit here that's now turning to shoot at these guys. I'm going to send the skirmishers to try and screen them while I keep these guys in reserve and shoot these guys in the flank and try and push them back. But, I mean, the French have made it across the bridge now. They've got units just pouring across it into the town. This is tough right here. This is tough fighting. You know, I'm in a town. I can't bring my artillery to bear. I can't bring my cavalry to bear. This is just a straight up fist fight in the town. So I brought some of my artillery forward. Doesn't appear that the French are trying to make any move on the extreme left. So let me bring this unit in and see if I can get some added firepower in the courtyard here to help this unit out with this little bunch over here. In the meantime, what are these skirmishers doing? You don't charge an infantry battalion, you morons. And here comes more units. This is really crazy in here. Fortunately, our flank fire is making these guys fall back. What a crazy fight we have going on here. Alright, so some of these French have fallen back as they're trying to cross this bridge here. I've got some skirmishers out and I've got some battalions over here. So temporarily we have this situation in hand. Here they are still funneling right down that main road across the bridge. Some of our skirmishers are falling back. Maybe I can bring these two cavalry squadrons forward, and maybe if French units get across, we can at least force them into square. So, all right, some of these French are falling back on the bridge. Maybe if I can get this unit up here and form in line, then we at least have a line from here through here and into the courtyard, and we'll have bottled the French up, you know, within the first, you know, block or two of the town. They definitely got a good foothold on the town, but we got to try and contain them and keep them from pushing further forward as much as possible. We certainly don't want them to get into range of the objective, where they can contest it. And boy, is this a lot to watch at the beginning here, right out of the gate like this. So, okay, we got a quick minute here to breathe since the French have fallen back on the bridge, and we can start to get some skirmishers out on the north bank of the Dyle here. Start screening some of these battalions. But look how many French have made it across. We got 5 battalions here, or 4 battalions and some skirmishers. We have at least 4 battalions over here, another one over here, another one looking to get across the river over here. At least 2 whole brigades in reserve on the opposite side. And we are being induced into another melee here, but this is a small unit, so I'm hoping we win this one. So our unit's morale is not great, but it does look like we're winning, and our morale just went up. And the unit surrendered. All right, that's good. So get back, but you know, don't be heroes, fellas. Get back behind your skirmisher line. Just keep shooting up the French in front of you. We're not trying to get into any more melees than we have to here. So, all right, we've sent 1 battalion back across the river. Boy, this is crazy fighting right here. So I've brought this cavalry squad, these 2 cavalry squadrons up. In case any units actually get across the river over here, they'll be forced to form square because they're in engaged distance of the cavalry. We've got our skirmishers set up on the opposite side of the river here, shooting it out with some of these troops across the river. And these guys, I think, because they're back behind the bridge here, I don't think they're getting a good shot on these guys. Because it just says that they're resting. So maybe if we actually refuse our flank and get them up on higher ground here, we might actually be able to get shots off on these guys. And yeah, okay, now they're engaged. Now they can see them. That's good. So this is actually a better position for that unit. All right, so the French have have pulled back on some of their aggressiveness. It's giving us a few minutes to now get some skirmishers out and try and get a better handle on this. See if we can get some up in here, get some up in here, and start shooting at some of these French battalions and trying to get them to pull back across the river. That was a pretty crazy charge across the bridge at the beginning there. Like I said, they ate up 2 full Prussian battalions of infantry in a matter of minutes. But now they're kind of holding their position along the on the bridge there. So it's giving us a chance. I used 2 full battalions out of my reserve here. So we're going to bring basically our last brigade of reserves into the area of the objective here, and then maybe we'll move these guys up in line up to one of the roads in the front here. Boy, that was crazy. See why I wanted you guys to TC your units right off the bat there, because what if we didn't and they just started going off and doing God knows what? We'd never get this under control. Alright, so some French skirmishers have made it across this bridge here and pushed our skirmisher unit back. You can see them over here. So let's shift the skirmisher unit over here to start screening this unit, so they're kind of covered. Nothing really happening over at Beard's yet. We have this objective, but not this objective. So we need to get. I know I'm taking my attention away from the battle, and it's definitely not a situation you want to be away from for long. But we need to get that objective over here occupied. Unfortunately, I don't realize it at the moment, but this is a 500-man objective, and this cavalry regiment only has 427 men. So they'll get over there and it still won't be occupied because I don't have enough men, and I don't realize it. I'm not looking at that right now. It's the whole cavalry regiment, so I just assume it's enough. So I'm going to have to deploy skirmishers from one of my infantry units in Le Male and send them over there to make up the difference so we can get over 500 men. So these guys almost appeared like they're stuck in the movement waypoint vortex that we've seen in Ligny. And are just circling that bridge and can't quite figure out what to do with themselves. So alright, we've got another brigade up in position near the Wavre objective. We have almost 3,000 points in the first 20 minutes, so a lot of that is casualties. It was very hectic fighting there, because as I said, these objectives aren't worth a whole heck of a lot. These guys definitely seem like they're stuck in the vortex. So we've cleared out the left side in the courtyard here. That's pretty good. At least we don't have to worry about that right now. And we have one more infantry regiment, and we'll just kind of bring them up in here so that they're closer to the town in case we need them. There's no crossing points along the Dyle here, so this area does not really need to be well defended. We have guns covering them, to keep the French from moving out this way, but there's no crossings here. The bridge has been burned down over here, as you can see, so there's no way across. And so I'm just going to move this infantry regiment a little closer. We have some artillery. I have a few minutes now. I can start bringing some artillery to bear. We definitely need some guns over here. This is definitely an area that needs guns. They're attacking, and that's exactly where I'm bringing them. And I have to un-TC everybody because, as I said at the beginning of the scenario, I TC'd all my forces. Well, these guys are exhausted. This whole brigade that I moved over had some shaky fatigue to begin with, but these guys are recovering it because they're just mostly resting. As I said, I think this unit is stuck in the movement waypoint of vortex and they can't get out. And here comes the unit across this hidden ford here. And they're setting up in line. That's good. That means they just want to shoot it out. So let's slide the skirmisher over units over to face them. Double click them. Get into position, guys. Start screening this. Start screening these units. All right, these skirmishers that were on the bridge, they've started to fall back. That's good. Still no sign of anybody attacking the Beerges area. That's pretty secure. We've got a skirmisher unit on the forward bridge there, screening that. So he's gotten about 400 points from his objective so far. As I said, these objectives are not really worth a whole heck of a lot. So they charged our skirmisher unit. Our skirmishers are falling back, but thankfully they're falling back as well, as they took a lot of fire from those two Prussian infantry battalions. So let's bring another skirmisher unit that previously fell back, bring them back into place. So we're on the left, we're tangling with some French across the river, and we've got a head-on firefight in the streets of Wavre here with the lead French unit across the bridge here with one of our units, and we're slugging it out with them. And we have one whole regiment in reserve. I'm going to set one up as a secondary line in case this unit gets bum rushed by French, so that I have another line in position already. And I'm setting these guys up kind of in reserve, hidden behind the buildings. And again, the French are now trying to move across the ford and the bridges in force here. Luckily, you know, the streets of Wavre are doing us some favors in terms of actually keeping the French from really being able to bring a lot of their forces to bear at us at once. You know, they kind of, you know, they can send units forward, but kind of one behind the other, so that we really only have to tangle with one unit at a time. So they have a foothold across this bridge here after pushing our skirmishers away. But we've kind of got them in check now. We're bringing once we get some artillery over there, we'll be able to breathe a little easier. Artillery will change everything, as it always does. So we just got to hold on a few more minutes until our guns get set up, and, you know, then the tables will turn, so to speak. All right, so this shaky unit here is coming around. They're back to fresh, and by pulling them back right out of the way, you know, we were able to let them recuperate. And we have, however, lost a skirmisher unit. No problem. We'll pick out another one. That's what we do. Send them right through the unit flag there, then that little space, and send them out in the front. These guys are getting tired. Their morale is still high, but I'm thinking maybe I can replace them with this fresh unit here. And I'll just have them double quick to quickly get into position. Oh, we got a charge. So we're going to pull the skirmishers back, and hopefully that cancels the French charge, and yep, it does. Now we can shoot at them as they're reforming. I know that's a dirty trick, but I can't help it. I'm going to always use that. I showed you guys that way back in the divisional series, so you guys should be used to me using that at this point. So, okay, we have a fresh unit in the center of town. We're moving the exhausted unit off to the side to let them recover. And in a situation of sustained fighting like this, you want to try and do that. Cycle fresh units in and cycle exhausted units out, because those exhausted units are they're money in the bank for later on, because if you can get them out of there and let them recover their fatigue and recover their morale, you're going to be able to use them again, and they're going to be good as new. So in a sustained situation like this, where the combat is just going on and on and on and on, you know, you want to take the time to cycle exhausted units out of the fighting and cycle fresh units in, because those exhausted units will recover later on, and you'll be able to use them again. And I'm telling you, that's money in the bank. So, all right, that was a really crazy first 25 minutes, but it looks like we've repulsed the initial French drive kind of all along the line. They're still across the river in the town, but we've repulsed them on the left, we've repulsed them on the right. We've got guns up in position now. That's changing the whole look of this front on the right here, because now with the guns, it's going to be very tough to get across that river, because you're going to sustain enormous casualties from canister fire as they come across. We still have another regiment in reserve here. We have von Grouchy's regiment of von Riesel's brigade, and we're going to put them in reserve on this side of things, because this side of things seems to be where everything is the most hairiest. So this is a fresh brigade. I don't think they've seen any action. I think their morale and their fatigue are good. And this is a good place to have them, because if the battle's going to go anywhere, it's going to go this direction. You know, so this is where we need to send troops over to. As I said, there's no way to cross the river on the left side of the town. So the fighting's going to be on this side of the town. So here we go. Our cannon have set up, and I believe that was the first canister shot of the scenario. And that will really start to bring things under control. So I'm bringing, with all this firing going on, believe it or not, our units are going through their ammo. So I'm actually using a supply wagon to resupply the infantry lines, resupply the skirmishers. The artillery really hasn't been heavily used yet. So here's Le Male. We have this objective. We have some artillery, just one battery on the left here, but they are guarding the crossing in a good spot. And we're just going to move them over so they really have their guns pointed at these two roads here. And we will take this infantry line and set them up right behind them so that we can put skirmishers in front of them. This line will deploy some skirmishers to guard this crossing. And we have one unit in reserve here that is holding the objective. However, when I go over and look at Limelette here, I will quickly discover that the cavalry regiment alone is not enough to occupy this objective. There's not enough men. I'm double clicking the officer because I first think that that's the reason I don't have it, that he's not in range yet, but he is. There's only 427 men in his cavalry. This is a very small cavalry regiment, and there's not enough men. So I'm going to have to split off a skirmisher unit and send them over there to make up the difference. So I'll split up a 100-man skirmisher group. That'll put them at 527 men over there, and that'll be enough to occupy that objective. I wish I had seen that earlier, because now it's going to take them about 5 minutes to get over there, and that's one cycle of that objective that I've missed out on now. So, okay, back to Wavre. So we've got a nice line of infantry set up kind of on the right side, going through the town and into the courtyard. And we've got cannon set up here now, so this position just got a whole lot stronger. You can see a lot of the French have all pulled back now. The artillery is a game changer. I wish I could have a battery in here, but there's just nowhere to set them up. You know, we're basically fighting down a narrow road here. And I'm just setting up units in line at along various roads here, just to provide layers of defense. If this unit collapses, I still have another unit further back guarding the objective. I still have this unit behind them in reserve. They're recovering their fatigue. This unit's recovering their fatigue. You know, these units here are getting to rest, so that I'll be able to use them later. Because eventually, this unit will get exhausted. You know, they're in good shape right now. You know, the French have caught quite a beating themselves, and so now they're pulling back and onto the bridge. So our artillery is doing a great job at driving some of these French off, and you can see our skirmisher unit heading over there to Limelette. So we have almost 5,000 points. We have taken 2,000 casualties. We've inflicted about 4,500 casualties. So immediately, it was a bloodbath right out of the gate here. You know, that was a ferocious charge by the French across that river there. We can see some of their reinforcements moving in now. Who do we got here? Let's click on them and see if we can see. So this is Hulot's brigade. So now. This is the 1st Division of Gerard's Corps. We've been dealing with Van Damme's Corps, but now the 1st Division of Gerard's Corps is arriving. So likely Vichery's division and Passot's division are behind them. So yes, an entire French corps is still on the way. So it ain't over. It definitely ain't over. You know, fortunately, this position behind the Dyle is pretty good. It was only really hairy because the battle just started, and you know, I didn't get any chance to really set up. You know, it was you know, the French were in my face pretty much right at the start of the scenario, so I didn't get a chance to start to set things up how I would have set them up had I had, you know, maybe 15 minutes or so to set things up before the French started attacking. But nope. That's not the way the scenario starts. The French just careen across the bridge, immediately get in your face, and you just kind of have to deal with it as best you can. And we dealt with it by getting 2 of our infantry battalions eaten up in a matter of minutes. But it stalled the French long enough for us to set up, to bring up reserves and start to get our defenses set up here. So sometimes you have to sacrifice a few pawns to get your bishops and knights into position. So, all right, our guns are letting loose with the canister fire, and this is so deadly because it's so tough for the French to get across the river now. It takes a long time to cross by the fords because the river really slows down your movement, and our artillery is able to just, you know, blast them to pieces while they're trying to do so. So I'm really glad we were able to get some cannon over there. I knew that would change everything. So, all right, we've still got some more infantry in reserve. Good. We've got some cavalry way in the back if we absolutely need it. And we've definitely temporarily here stabilized the situation. And I'm going to move this last infantry regiment here, von Gromans, also of von Riesel's brigade, and I'm going to move him up in reserve behind the courtyard, just in case, really just in case, because once I get the other regiment over here, I'll feel a lot safer about this area. I mean, these guns are doing terrific work. I mean, they are in a great spot to just blast any of these French units that try to come across the bridge, that try to come across the ford. They're being screened by all these skirmishers, so this battery is just in a terrific spot right here. So some more French are trying to cross at one of the fords here, these secret fords. And like I said, there's one around here, one around here, and one kind of right over here to the left, right around here to the left of the bridges. And then there's also one here. But I believe that's it. Oh, maybe this is one too. There might be one right here that the French haven't moved enough. You can kind of like make them out, because the where there's a ford, the river has kind of a different texture than it does, you know, where there's not a ford. It's more rippled where there's a ford, and kind of smooth where there isn't a ford. So while there's no fighting here, temporarily, I'm trying to get this unit that is a little more fatigued out of there, so I can cycle in a fresh unit and just switch them. Because I got a temporary reprieve here, but I see more. You see how this area here is a little more like rippled? That's kind of how you can tell there's a ford here. As opposed to like over here, there's no fords because there's no, like I said, I think this is one, and then, you know, there isn't another one until you get like over here, or over here I think is one. So the fords are kind of like wherever there's kind of a weird texture to the river. Okay, now we have this objective. So now we have all 4 objectives. And yeah, Van Damme's corps has taken quite a beating. So have we, to be honest. But we've gotten the better of it so far in the overall grand scheme of things. But yeah, the first division of Gerard's corps, Hulot's, is arriving on the field. So I'm moving a regiment in reserve up here in column, just if I need to reinforce the courtyard. My furthest most gun battery that was over here on the left, I'm moving them over to the right. It's going to take them a while to get there, but they're doing no good over there, and I can always use more artillery over here. Especially as I think the battle will slowly proliferate over here, and I really, when Gerard's corps comes on the field and starts to try and attack this area, I really want to give them a hot reception. So I'm gonna want I'm gonna want another battery over here. So in order to give the artillery a good field of fire, I've pulled the infantry that was over here back behind the guns, and I'm just gonna set them up in column by division on the guns left in case I need them to counter a charge, because obviously the skirmishers won't hold up under a charge. You see my gun battery moving through the town behind my lines. Good job, boys. Get over to the right. And I'm using my supply wagon to just kind of run through this middle of the town area and keep my infantry and keep their cartridge boxes full. Luckily, these are very generalized supply wagons. They carry artillery ammo and they carry infantry ammo. Your one-stop shopping need for all your military ammo needs. So, okay, I got my counter-attacking force right next to the guns if I need them. If the skirmishers get charged, we'll be able to protect the guns. And the skirmishers are screening my battery. Yeah, I meant to move the supply wagon, not the infantry. I want to resupply the guns. They have been firing a lot of a canister right now. But, you know, I'm thinking like a Frenchman at this point, where the French guns usually only carry around 10, 11 rounds of canister. The Prussian guns carry around 30 rounds of canister. They must have really big caissons in Prussia. So the guns don't need to be resupplied with canister as much as the French guns do. So but I'm just always, I've trained myself. I'm always trained to try and keep supply wagons near the guns. But it's not as necessary with the Prussian cannon as it is the French cannon, because the Prussian cannon just tend to carry more ammo on the guns themselves than the French guns do. So okay, these guys are now in reserve, and they're getting a chance to recover their fatigue, and we have fresh units in the front now. So let's get a skirmisher unit out in front to screen them. No dummies, don't take the long way. And some French units here are gathering up on the bridge here, trying to move forward. I'm not sure whether they're looking to charge. Let's see what happens here. And I'm moving my infantry up in case I need to countercharge these guys. But it looks like they're setting up in line and they're catching canister fire. So okay, boys, you don't need to go up. They're setting up in line. Although I may just charge them to get them out of here. That's a big unit. That's a big Prussian unit there, 550 men. Am I going to charge them or just let them shoot it out? I think I'm going to get rid of them. So here we go. And I'm hoping we win this one, because okay, they quickly withdraw. Good. And I am not interested in chasing these guys. Pull back, guys. Don't be stupid. Nope, they're charging. Goddamn heroes. Look at these guys. What are you gonna do? Drive the whole French army back to Paris? Come on. Maniacs. Look at this. Utter maniacs. Finally they stop charging. Get back here, you nutcases. Trying to drive the French all the way back to Paris. Well, if nothing else, they cleared that line and brought us some time. So, all right, the Van Damme's Corps is really starting to catch a beating here. They've about had it. They're kind of pulling back all along the line here. So that's giving us time to rest and recuperate and hopefully reorient our defenses here. So, all right, we've got a gun battery on its way over. Where is the officer? There he is, lagging behind. And okay, so we've got them kind of setting up in here. We'll fine-tune that, but that will enable us to shift this battery over more. All right, so we'll set these guys right here and move this battery over towards the Vierges. This battery's a little set up funky. This is what happens when you don't have your officers, your battery commanders on take charge. The batteries just get set up really funny. So, okay, I think right around here is a good spot. Right here? Because then we can really shoot as they're approaching this first bridge. Yeah, right here where this infantry unit is a good spot. So we'll back the infantry unit off so we can set the guns up right here. Now we have to find that, there he is. Get a hold of this officer and set it up right here. It'll be a really good spot. A little far, because we got to have enough space in front to put skirmishers. So that might even be a little too close, because we need to be able to screen the battery with skirmishers. So all right, who we got here? Okay, this is Hulot's division marching down. This is the first of Gerard's divisions of the 4th Corps. So a fresh corps is approaching on the field, and I am sure Vichery is behind him, and Pachot is right behind him. So a full 3-division French corps is on the way, and I'm going to start shifting some of my reserves out towards the right here, because I have a feeling that Gerard's corps is going to try and hit at the Vierges now. I think Wavre is in pretty good shape. I probably can get, I have a whole bunch of reserves back on some of the different roads, layers of roads going, back towards the rear of the town. I have a whole, these guys, and then further back I have more, and then I have a whole regiment in column back behind. Where are these maniacs? Where are you going? What are you fools doing? I wanted you guys to rest. Stop being heroes. No, back in here, fellas. Here's a good spot for you. Come back here, dummies. Get back there. Oh, it's these Prussians. They all want blood. They don't know when it's time to take a rest. So some more units is trying to move across the four secret fords here, but we have a nice line of infantry set to meet them at this now. And yeah, here comes Hulot's whole division in column here, and they're definitely headed for this area. So we're getting our guns set up. We've got a skirmisher group right in front here to challenge to guard the first bridge here. And let's see how Hulot approaches here. If he just comes down this road, he's going to catch a lot of fire from these guns that are set up on the opposite bank here. And I'm shifting some of these guns over to help with the impact here. And we'll start screening some of these guns with skirmishers. That's going to be very necessary. As I said, I think this battery is a little too far forward. I think I should back them off a little bit to give the skirmishers more room to get in front of them. And why don't we split off another skirmisher group and get in on this little island in here. Let's see if we can cover in here and in here. Okay, so here they come. And we've got our infantry moving in to set, because obviously they were a little weak over there. We got to get some more infantry into position. So the French have charged. They've run our skirmishers off, but it looks like we countercharged. Won that melee. Alright, so let's take this unit. This unit's going to form up in column by division. Let's form them back up in line. They're still in pretty good shape. They're a little smaller now, though, at only 330 men. But we have a lot of units in reserve here. I'm not too worried about Wavre anymore. The fighting looks like it's definitely getting ready to shift over to the Bierges here. Nothing approaching on these two roads yet. We're still pretty good with Lamale and Limelette. So we got two skirmisher groups now on the island here to guard the first bridge. We've got skirmishers screening this battery, and let's get some skirmishers out to screen this battery. So we have a good deal of artillery covering this area, so this is going to be a bloody approach. And I'm actually surprised the AI has set their guns up this close. Usually they don't bring them that far forward. It's not canister range, but it's certainly further forward than I'm used to the AI bringing their artillery. That's definitely not too far away. So I'm impressed the AI actually brought its guns that far forward. It normally doesn't do that. Are you guys routed? No. But you're in bad shape. Can we recall you? No, because I don't know where the unit is. Alright, just get up here somewhere and rest. So, alright, Hulot's division is deploying. And let's see if we can make life miserable for them on the approach. So it looks like some of them are deploying. Oh, yes. Here we go with the canister fire. Let them have it, boys. This is what I'm talking about. Yes. Start blasting them to pieces. And because there's no crossings over here, I think. I think there might be one kind of off the screen to the left there, but yeah, I'm thinking that artillery is going to be really effective here, and we just need to screen them with skirmishers so that the infantry can't shoot at them. things have quieted down in the center of town here. There's still some units on the bridges, but they're a lot more. We're at 7,800 points here. So, like I said, we need 15,000 for a major victory, but we still got more than an hour to go. Our pace at gaining points has been pretty good, and we're probably going to gain a lot more in this coming fight because Hulot's division, as they file out here, are really going to be coming into the canister range of at least 2 batteries, hopefully 3 batteries. You can hear the canister fire just starting to rip into them, and they're still trying to come forward here. I have my three other infantry battalions that were behind the town, have moved them over to the right, so our right is a lot stronger now. You can see them back here. Here they are. One here, one here, one here. My supply wagon is still making rounds to keep my infantry in ammo. And I still don't know where these guys' parent unit is, so alright, we'll just bring these guys. They're tired, but their morale's good, so we'll just bring them right back up here. And hopefully they get a chance to rest, as the French are not being too aggressive here at this point. Although, here comes a unit moving forward. They're setting up in firing line. Like I said, a lot of these units that have already been in melees, there's only so many melees you can really get into before units just aren't melee worthy anymore. So here's what I'm talking about. These guys want to cross the river, but they can't. There's no ford here. So they just end up trying to run down river looking for the nearest ford to try and get across. I think it's here. Okay, whoa. These guys just ran right up on us. So, okay, let's pull the skirmishers back a little bit, because these guys are a little close. So we'll pull back to the second bridge here. And as these units advance, they're going to come into canister range, if they're not already, of these guns on the opposite side of the river. And as far as I know, there are no crossing points other than the bridge. So our guns really have it covered. And I'm going to move the infantry line itself right up to the opposite side of the bridge, just to support the skirmishers. So yeah, this unit is just lost trying to find a ford to get across, and they're just getting shot at, while they're trying to find a place to get across the river. And like I said, I think it's right here. I think they may get across. It may not be a ford. You know, if it's not, the flag will just never move across the river, and they'll just get stuck there. So, okay, we're pulling some of our skirmishers back now. Let's see if we can draw some of these units forward so that our artillery can pepper them. But as you can see, this is very hard to get across because it's just this bridge. They can't cross anywhere else. So this is a really exceptional defensive position. Yeah, I'm just going to see if I can get my battery to actually target this specific unit here. They're almost within canister range. Yeah, okay, now they're in canister range. They're inside of 200 yards. So hopefully we start peppering them. Yeah, they've moved out again. Alright, so, okay, we've got a good amount of infantry reserves on the left here. There's nothing really popping there anyway. Still have control of. I'm just checking Lamale and Limelet. Because I'm assuming the French are going to move with some forces down those two roads and their objectives. So I'm just assuming the French are coming. I don't know what's coming, but I'm assuming something's coming. So okay, the French have moved across the bridge and have set themselves up in line, but boy are they in range of this artillery. And let's have our skirmishers see. Yeah, obviously I'm using the battery commander. I want all my guns to focus on these boys. Let them have it. Let them have it. Give them the double canister. And you can hear that battery still pounding away on them. So things have really quieted down over at Wavre. The battle is definitely picking up southwest of Wavre along the Dyle here. And oh yeah, we're just tearing this unit to shreds now. This battery's firing into their rear. This unit is going to get obliterated. There they go. They're backing up. They're getting obliterated. They're getting torn to pieces. And I've got my supply wagon moving to keep them in ammo. But as I said, Prussian guns tend to hold more ammo than the French guns. And wow, did that unit get slaughtered. Look at all the bodies they left behind. Just, yuck. This is great. And we're just hitting them as they fall back. So yeah, a lot of bodies left on the ground there. We took a good chunk out of that unit. And here's another unit trying to make its way across. And I'm going to slide my other infantry regiment over on this side just in case they start moving out this way. And historically speaking, I think this is pretty much how it went for the French on the first day of Wavre. They were not able to get across the Dyle. I'm not sure they even did as well as our AI French here have done. They definitely charged across very aggressively at the beginning of the scenario here, and certainly ate up a couple of Prussian infantry battalions in the process. But yeah, I don't think it was until the next day that they got across the Dyle further south of Lamale and then moved eastward. And I think we covered that in, I think it was episode 28 to Brussels. So, oh, look at this. Charging my skirmisher unit. Alright, so, but they still can't cross the river here. And they are right in front of these guns. So can we please, can I get an amen? Can I get an amen on these guys? There we go. There we go. Let them have it. That's what I'm talking about. Can I get a Hail Mary on these guys? No, we're going to get these guys too? Come on. I want these guys. They're pushing my skirmishers back across the bridge. Oh, look at this. This gun must be out of ammo. That's the only thing I can think of why they'd be retreating. So, no problem. I got a supply wagon on the way. Can I please get one for the Corps over here on these guys who are now mounting the bridge and getting ready to come across? I think they're the most important target here. Can we, yes. Thank you, yes. Shoot these guys. Yes. Let them have it. Oh, we got another sneak charge on the Prussian center here, but it looks like we're winning this one. The French are withdrawing. That's why it pays to cycle in fresh units, so they can win the melees when they happen. Look at these guys. These guys are just formed up right now. Oh, yes. Hit them. Come on, give them another one. Keep blasting them. Alright, so they're withdrawing. Maybe we can send the skirmishers back across the bridge. These guys coming up. I don't know how they got across the river. That's not supposed to be crossable. It's certainly not crossable in the brigade scenario. Hulot attacks. There's definitely no way across it. I've tested it. So the AI is cheating a little bit. Alright, so we got 10,000 points here. So we only need 5,000 more. We're about an hour in. So we're doing pretty good. We've inflicted 7,600 casualties. We've taken about 2,600. So it is a bit of a bloodbath here. You know what, though? I bet this was a unit that we already forced to retreat. And that's why they were able to cross the river. Whether it was... Here's a weird glitch, guys. And I may not have ever talked about this in the series before, because really the only episode that we ever had to deal with crossing bridges across uncrossable rivers was the Hulot attack scenario, which was like episode 7 of the brigade scenario, and then no other scenario in the game ever focused on this. But there's an interesting bug. It goes all the way back to Scourge of War, Gettysburg. In restricted terrain, like a river, like an uncrossable river, a unit won't be able to cross it. However, if a unit retreats and falls back across the river, since when a unit retreats, it ignores uncrossable terrain, meaning even if you can't cross the river here, if you retreat, you just fall back across it anyway. But once you do that, it stays like that, even after you're done retreating. Meaning, as long as you've retreated, you're able to cross uncrossable terrain. It's a stupid bug, and that's, I think, what happened there. That's probably a unit we previously forced to retreat across the river, and then when they recrossed the river, they got to ignore the fact that it's uncrossable because they've retreated across it before. And then once you retreat across uncrossable terrain, you're able to stay in that state. Oh, yes. Give him the 1-2 punch. Give it to him. Left and the right. I like that. Did you guys see that? Just boom and boom right into them. Can we give him that again? Yes. Get out of here. Now see, since that unit is retreating across the river, in order to retreat across the river, you have to be able to ignore uncrossable terrain, which when you're retreating, you're able to. But let's assume they're not routed. I don't think they are. Once they're done retreating, they stay in that state, and they're able to ignore uncrossable terrain. Now, I've heard rumors that was patched and fixed a long time ago, but I don't know if it's true, and like I said, sometimes I feel like I still see examples of that happen in the game. So, alright, well, we got a quick reprieve here, guys. I'm going to make a quick run to the fridge. I'll be right back. All right, fellas, I've returned, and it looks like just in time as we have a French column approaching my skirmishers on the bridge here. Where are my cannon? So they're trying to form up in firing line, but that's still a little close for skirmishers, so I'm going to try and pull them back. And I would like it very much if my cannon would open on these guys. So the fighting has definitely moved towards the bridges here. Definitely more to the south, southwest of Wavre here. So we're shooting it out across the bridge here with one of these French units, who my cannon are mysteriously not targeting, but they should be. I think my skirmishers are facing the wrong way. Turn around, you dummies. You're facing the wrong way. There we go. Let them have it. Turn around, you fools. You're facing the wrong way. Shoot at the enemy. So I've definitely gotten things more under control in terms of managing the battle here. Got my guns better placed. See, these are all units that have previously retreated across the river, and that's why now they get to cross the river, you know, without having to use the bridges. Although this one may not. You can see they're kind of moving along. I'm not sure if they've actually crossed. Yeah, okay, I think they've crossed. They've definitely crossed. It's all about where the flag is. Once you see the flag across the river, you know they've crossed. So I'm going to deploy some skirmishers to start screening this side of things. Because I don't think they can cross this river. This is a big river. I don't think you can just walk across this river. It might be that you can't cross the main part of the Dyle, but some of the little creeks that come off of it, you can. So the fighting has really died down in the center of town here. You can see all there is just a battalion or two hanging out by the bridge here. We could probably move forward and reclaim this area, but I'm happy with this line right here, going right through this road here. You know, I'm okay with the French crossing the bridge because, wow, run, boys. Yikes! The whole French army is in retreat. Oh boy, oh, what do we got here? We have a regiment of dragoons. So, yep, somebody's moving down the road. Let's head over there and take a look. And there they are. We can see them heading down the road. Now, I can't really move off of this area too far because we want to hold on to the objective for as long as possible. So it's not like I can just guard these bridges. They're too far away. I only have 527 men over here. I can't send any part of this over, or I won't have enough men to occupy the objective. But we've still got a bit of time. We got 700 points out of this objective. I don't know what's coming down here, but chances are one small little cavalry regiment is not going to be enough to hold them off. And we may have to withdraw and make our stand at La Male. Let's see if we can start defending some of the approaches to this town. We've got this bridge covered. Let's see if we can get this bridge covered. Never hurts to put some skirmishers in front of the battery. And with the whole French army basically in retreat up by the Wavre area, we could afford to take a few minutes here and try to set something of a defense up here. And I'm basically just trying to guard the bridges and guard the approaches because that just seems to be the most logical thing to do right now when I don't know where the French are coming from. But I'm assuming they're coming down those two roads. I can't really guard this town over here with any kind of... I could see at least 3 regiments of dragoons. So I'm assuming there's a lot. I see artillery now. We're not going to be able to hold that. But let's get as much out of it as we can and then withdraw. Oh boy. What is coming down the center of the road here at Wavre? Did I just see a big French column? Is that Vitry? We need to swing the camera back here. I thought I saw something. Oh, I did. Oh, man, go back. So, okay, I see at least 3 cavalry squadrons, and oh, man. I mean, this cavalry regiment I have over here is really, really, really small. Oh, there's a lot more than 3. We're screwed. Like, okay, we're going to have to go out and fight these guys, and we're probably going to get our butts kicked. I'm not sure if this was really the smart move. It might have just been smarter to just give up this objective and head for Le Male. But no, I chose to fight them and see. See, they're coming up across the bridge 1 squadron at a time. So my thought was to hit them as they come up with all 4 of my squadrons. But it worked for 1 or 2 squadrons. But there's like 6 or 7 French cavalry squadrons approaching, and they vastly outnumber me. You can see they just keep materializing there into view. 1, 2, 3, 4, and there's more behind them. Now there's 5, and there's guns up here. So I mean, this is probably a whole French cavalry division approaching, versus just 1 little regiment. So okay, these guys are forming into battle line. My guys are forming into battle line here, and we're having a nice stare down. And they're not backing down. They're coming. And my thought is, let me hit them before the rest of their support can get across the bridge. And they're rushing across the bridge, so it's like, oh man, let's get these guys now. So okay, I've got my whole regiment attacking 1 squadron. And you know, here comes their buddies. So yeah, we definitely win against this 1 squadron, but we're about to get countercharged by 2 more. And there's, you know, our squadrons are small. So, yeah, here we go. And already one of our squadrons is retreating. And yeah, they're all retreating. Yeah, we got killed. We got murdered in that charge. Oh, we won that one though. The French are retreating. But yeah, this is a losing fight. You can see they still got more cavalry moving through. I mean, we're hopelessly outnumbered. These guys are heroes, though. They're still trying to march after the French. So I got to get my skirmisher unit out of there. They're gonna get mauled by cavalry. So we got to get them back to Le Male. There's nothing they're gonna do against cavalry. Fortunately, the French seem to have stalled their advance over here. It might buy us some time. But yeah, we've lost that objective, and we don't have the manpower to get it back. So we're gonna have to fall back on Le Male here, where we have some infantry and artillery. It's a little bit better. Some of our guns are unlimbering. I don't know if they can see some of the cavalry down there, or if there's something approaching down these roads. No, I don't see anything yet. It's all coming down this road. It's Strolz's division. Okay, it's Strolz's whole cavalry division. So yeah, we're hopelessly outnumbered there at Le Mallet. So a unit has made it across the river here, but it's a tiny unit, and I think these boys can handle it just fine. We'll turn to face them a little bit. Where are all these units coming from? So the French have some forces across the into the island area again. We've kind of ceded this area to them now, and we're on the opposite bank of the Dyle. And they're trying to move off this way to get away from our guns. My goodness, where are all these troops coming from? So it looks like the French are trying to make another push on the center of town here. Oh boy, a lot of French cavalry. Get back, fellas. These French mean business. So it looks like my skirmishers are going to make it to safety. But my right flank is kind of open here. So I'm banking on the river being a good defense over here, and I'm going to move my infantry and see if I can form kind of a ring of squares in this area, because there's really nothing stopping the French from moving this way. Obviously, my cavalry is too small to really do anything about an entire cavalry division coming down here. Well, I'm going to switch his stance to hold and hope he can do the best he can. And I'll just put him under AI control and let him do the best he can at stalling the French while I try and get another square out of the position to defend my right here over at Le Male. Because, yeah, we've lost this objective. We ain't getting it back. We don't even have enough men to get it back anymore. So, you know, the French are just standing here for now. Let's see if we can stall them. Put them on hold to the last. Yeah, that is definitely Strolz's whole cavalry coming down that road. Still nothing down that other road, so that's good. At least Le Male is not really in danger yet. And there's only 40 minutes left in the battle, although a lot can happen in 40 minutes, but at least we're not that far away from the end. So again, a little French unit has made it across the river. These guys are still doing fine. I noticed some of the French guns have moved forward. And most of Hulot's division here has pulled back. There's only a couple of battalions. What do we got? We are at 13,166 points, so we need about 2,000 more points to clinch a major victory. So we're doing pretty good here. And the French are on the move again. Boy, that's a lot of cavalry coming forward. There's not really much I'm going to be able to do about it. It's completely outnumber us. So yes, I'm moving this infantry unit over to form a square. So that hopefully this square will guard this approach, and then this square will be in a position to guard any approach over this road and over the river here. And it's not much of a defense, but I mean, I'm working with a handful of units over here, and now I'm thinking about maybe sending the square forward to actually guard that crossing directly. But I don't know. Can the cavalry just cross this little creek here? I don't know. I don't know what's crossable and what's uncrossable. You know, I know the big main part of the Dyle is mostly uncrossable. I know where those hidden fords are on that, but some of the creeks I'm not sure about. Oh, we got another melee. Some of these French have made it through the buildings. Did we win this one? This unit should be pretty well rested. They've been sitting there a long time. Yep, they are. They win. And they surrendered. I always love it when that happens. And we'll just keep them right where they are, nice and safe behind these buildings. So we're getting a little gathering of troops here across the river. You know, none of them are too big a deal as long as they're across the river. You just got to keep a lookout for when they cross the river, or you know, that's when they become an issue. But as long as we can keep them bottled up on the other side of the Dyle, no problem. We can just pepper them with canister fire, and you know, they'll fall apart. Who do we got now? Oh boy. Alright, so this is Desprez's brigade is part of Vichery's division. So I would venture to say Vichery's division is on the field now. The 2nd division from Gerard's corps, and I'm sure Pachot is right behind him. So we still have at least two more full divisions of French infantry on the way. We've beaten up Hulot pretty good over here, but it looks like Vichery's division is now on the field. Let's see what they're going to do. And Pachot's division is probably right behind him. They're probably all coming up this main road right here, approaching Wavre. And I'm wondering about this road. Is anybody approaching on this road? Because that's kind of what I'm guarding over here at Le Male. The French overran this road, of course, pretty easily. And they're kind of just holding their position right now, and I'm happy to keep that status quo going as long as possible. So I'm thinking about, like I said, moving the square right here, but God, is that far away from the rest of my forces? I'm not really sure that's a good idea, because I just don't know if this little creek here, if that's crossable or not. If it is crossable, then this idea is stupid. If it isn't crossable, then it's a pretty good idea, but I just don't know. You know, some of the mechanics in this game are somewhat glitchy, and things that you think are uncrossable, for some reason in certain spots end up being crossable, and some things that are crossable that, you know, suddenly in spots are not crossable. So I'm considering that this creek is pretty similar to this creek. So if the French cavalry can run across this creek, I would think they can run across this creek. But so far they're not. They're staying on the other side of the creek. So I'm looking to see if any of these units are actually going to, if they cross this creek, then I would say this other creek is just as crossable. In which case this square being all the way up here coming up here is not a good idea. because then they're just separated from the main force at Lamale for really no reason, because it'd be better off in here. And I think I'm actually going to say, you know what, I'm just going to assume that creek is crossable, and it's better to keep them close to the objective and kind of try and form a defense around it. 'Cause I'm not seeing the French cross this creek, but I don't know. I think they can. I think only this part, the main part of the river, is uncrossable. So yeah, this is obviously some of Vichery's division. That's why the fighting is kind of renewing over here. So we're probably mostly tangling with Gerard's corps at this point. I think Van Dam's corps has pretty much all been pushed back. And can we get it? Can we open on these guys right here? They're just standing here. Are we engaged with them? Yeah, can I get some canister fire on these guys? I know they're in range. Well, it looks like we've cleared most of Hulot's division out of that area by the beer juice. But now the French are renewing their assaults on Wavre here. They've got some more troops across the river. What are we up to here? 14,187 points. So we're still gaining. We're still gaining. We've still got 3 out of 4 objectives too. So, you know. Oh, I see some more troops moving in. This could be Pachot's division coming in on the road behind. I had a feeling he was right behind. Who is this? I had a feeling he was right behind Vichery's division. Somehow these guys must not be in line of sight, because they're not engaging anybody and none of us are engaging them. So the French have a unit across the river here. They're on the bridges here. Not too crazy. We're engaged again, but this is certainly not a really wholehearted attack by the French. Certainly nothing like what they did in the beginning of the scenario. Yeah, we've definitely got a hole. This has to be Vichery. I'm sorry, Pachot. Yeah, that's Rome's brigade. So that's yeah. Rome and Schaefer's brigade. That's Pachot's division. So yet another French division arriving on the field. 2 whole French brigades. And now we got something on this road. So okay. Let's see what's coming. I think they're on the... Yep, here they come. Alright, that's infantry. So who is this? And our guns are opening on them. That's good. And I feel like my guns are a little too far forward. The skirmishers are not quite in front of them. So the French have now moved forward. They've taken possession of the Limelette objective. And now I have to move some infantry back there, because now I have... This is a whole French division. This is probably Test's division of Lobau's corps, which was detached to Grouchy. And that's pretty much the only French division I can't account for at this point, because I know all of Gerard's corps is at Wavre. We've seen Hulot, Vichery, and now Pachot is arriving. So really the only French division I can't account for is Test's division of Lobau's corps. And so that must be them. So, okay, things are getting pretty hairy over here. I'm really hoping that the part of the river there with my that my cannon are at is not crossable. All right, so here we go. Let's go back and make sure everything is cool at Wavre. Now I feel like I've got a fairly good line set up that I can leave for a few minutes if I have to. So, okay, the French have some skirmishers across the river now. More line infantry. These guys aren't engaged, though. I don't think they're in line of sight. They're just standing there. Nothing too crazy going on. We're still slugging it out with this one unit. They're starting to back up. And this is some long-range fire between this unit and the one on the bridge here. That's not too bad. We've got a whole bunch of skirmishers out. The French have a skirmish unit across the river here, but I'm not too worried about them. And like I said, I don't think these guys are in line of sight for some reason, because they're not engaging and none of my units are engaging. Although it does say engaged. Alright, these guys are getting pretty close. Let's see what's happening over here. So, okay, they're moving towards the river. That doesn't mean they can cross it. As I said in a previous video, the AI does not know it can't cross a river until it gets to the river and then finds out it can't cross. So, just because they're heading for the river does not mean it's crossable. Okay, so they've stopped and deployed into line. And they're opening fire, and we're hitting them with canister. Now, I feel like my guns are too close. The skirmishers are not really in front of them. They're kind of in line with them, and I can see I'm taking casualties on my artillery battery. They're too close. I have to get them back a little bit behind the skirmishers. I see it right away. I'm taking casualties. I mean, I'm making a lot more casualties than I'm taking, but still, I know if I back the guns up, they won't take any casualties. If I get them actually behind the skirmishers, right now they're kind of in line with the skirmishers. If I can get them actually behind the skirmishers, they won't take any casualties because they'll be screened by the skirmishers. But right now they're just kind of in line with them. So there we go. I'm backing the guns up a little bit behind the skirmishers. That should screen them from taking any more casualties. So they took about 9 casualties, but they inflicted around 130 casualties. So not too bad. And the infantry is moving off a little bit here. And okay, the French have definitely crossed the creek here. That means I'm going to assume that other creek was totally crossable. And okay, they're withdrawing. Good. Stop charging. No, have to make them hit the retreat button. I'm not really interested in charging these guys. I was just trying to scare them. Yeah, get back, fools. Okay, so these guys are running back. And as long as I can stall the French at Limolette, I'm just trying to run the clock down now. We've only got a half hour left in the battle. So some of these forces of Test Division are retreating up the road here. If I can get these guys in a position, we can get some more skirmishers out to really cover the entire battery. And I'm actually going to shift this skirmisher unit out over here for now to meet this threat. And we got some more troops over here. More cavalry filing into Limolette. This is hopeless. It's only a matter of time. As soon as the French cavalry here decides, you know what, we're moving. Let's get a move on. These guys have to run. They're already starting to run. They're like, yeah, we know we're done for. There's no way. Look at this. This is a lot of cavalry. Eek. Yeah, the French are really starting to move up in force at this point. My cavalry is just like needs to get the hell out of there. Alright, so I wanted to kick out another skirmisher group to screen the other half of the guns here. And yeah, that should protect the guns from taking any more casualties. And I don't think this river is crossable. I'm pretty sure it's not. This is the main part of the Dyle here. I don't think there's any fords here. I think the only way across is the bridge. I've got it covered. And as they approach here, they're going to catch hell from this artillery. The only thing I'm worried about is there is no supply wagon for this battery. So even though Prussian guns carry more ammo, sooner or later they're gonna. Oh wow, the French are really starting to run my cavalry down here. Yeah, save yourself, man. I mean, there's nothing you can do about this. It's just so much cavalry. All right, so back up at Wavre here, and we have a renewed assault on the Beerges area here, and looks like we're trying to force a crossing over by the ford over here. So let's see what's going to happen here. Let that canister fire rip, boys. I love it. So I'm going to move this infantry battalion up, so we're going to have a lot of fire. Sorry, guys. And yeah, we'll start splitting off some mer skirmishers to screen the opposite bank here. Ooh, that has to hurt. Oh, my goodness. And all right, we're going to pull the old skirmisher withdrawal trick. And let's see if we can just let rip into these guys. Let's get that supply wagon out of there. They're a little close for comfort. So all right, we've got these full battalions opening fire on these guys now. So this canister has really done a number on these troops of Vichery's division. You can see Peugeot's division moving in. Now I gotta watch what's going over here as well. A lot more troops are deploying here, but now my skirmishers are screening the guns. So at this point now, yeah, the guns are not taking. They're still not at 9. They're not taking more casualties anymore, which is really what I wanted to happen. And it doesn't appear that they can cross the river, so that position should hold for a long time. It's the cavalry over here I'm worried about. How the hell am I going to stop them with only 3 infantry battalions? I'm going to have to really position my squares well to basically stop them from getting over to this area. So, okay, these guys are withdrawing. These guys are having a hell of a time trying to get across the river. Our canister really sent a lot of these guys running quickly. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Ooh, these guys have had enough. But you know what? They stood there for a long time, and this unit that was the shaky unit at the beginning of the scenario, they're in much better shape now. So now they can just move up and take that position. And I can bring one of my reserve battalions up to take their position. No big deal. This is why we have reserves. So when this happens, we can just set up another unit right where they were and bring another unit up to take their place. No problem. You know, that unit held for an hour and a half. I cannot complain about their performance. Like I said, that is why we have reserves. Just for that very reason. These guys cannot get across the river. They're just, we're just ripping into them. Another supply wagon, we'll put them to use. We can send them over, we can send them further over because we already have a supply wagon over there. And these guns are actually burning through canister pretty fast. So we're ripping these units apart. And they couldn't get across the river, they just got shot to pieces. 17,000 points. So we have hit the point. We now have enough points for a major victory. Actually, we're about 2,000 points over what we need for a major victory. So we're doing good. Just got to hold on for 20 more minutes. These guys are certainly in no danger. They've only lost 50 men throughout the whole battle. So, all right, we've got some skirmisher units that have fallen back. We can bring them back up. To close up this open spot here of skirmisher units along the Dyle. Not that these battalions are doing a bad job at all, but let's bring these guys back up. They're not in bad shape at all. They've lost 2 men. Bring them back up. Put them on the firing line. Get all muskets on the firing line. Pull the infantry back a little bit to preserve their strength. And yeah, let's get these skirmishers back on the firing line. I like to preserve the battalions if I can for counterattacks, and let the skirmishers handle the routine musket exchanges. So they're all in good shape. Double quick them. They all got plenty of energy. They both are close to full strength. And keep bouncing back and forth here between the north and the south areas here. Oh, here comes the French cavalry. My goodness. Shit. That is a lot of cavalry. And I gotta like try and guard them with one square. And they're just running my cavalry off at this point there. It's just such a big cavalry division, they're just able to encircle the whole area. Meanwhile, just with an artillery battery and a couple of skirmishers, I'm trying to keep Test's whole division at bay. You know, and I've got to guard this bridge to keep them from getting across. So I've got this square trying to guard this approach here, as well as whatever is coming from the west over there. So I don't think there's any way to. I think I'm going to have to at least like take one of these infantry battalions and form them in square on the right here, and hope these skirmishers can hold the bridge. This is really stupid and desperate right now, the crap I'm doing. I'm so outgunned over here, it's just hilarious. It was like the Alamo over here. I mean, and I'm trying to keep the cavalry, the French cavalry, from uniting with the infantry and being able to use combined arms on me, you know? Like, I'm trying to hold the infantry over here while I keep the cavalry over here. With just these tiny little forces I have, it's crazy. You can see some of the cavalry is moving off to join up with the infantry. I'm just like watching the clock going, oh my god, can we get to the end of this scenario before I get overrun here. Look at these guys running for their lives as the French pursue them. The rest of my cavalry is like in this field hiding for all they're worth. I'm gonna basically place my faith in those skirmishers and that battery to keep all of Test's division at bay. We got another unit really close here. You know what? This unit could charge them right in the flank. That might be a good idea. This looks like a good charge over here. Just charge into these guys right in their side. We could run them right across the river. These guys are in pretty good shape too. They're 550 men. Run them down, fellas. Let's see what happens. Oh yeah, oh yeah. Kick their butts. Yeah, that worked out pretty well. They're mauling them. Yeah, we're mauling. We're killing them. They're gonna run. They're gonna run. I can feel it right now. There they go. They're breaking. Surrender. Yes. There they go. Get the hell out of here. That was a good charge. Oh, look at this. Another unit. Let's see if we can hit them. Well, they're setting up in firing line. Let's see if we can charge into them. That looks like a pretty small unit, and if we can hit them while they're forming. So the skirmishers are falling back. That's okay. That's their best move. Get out of there. But if we can hit these guys while they're forming up before they ever can even get a shot off, that'll be good. Yeah, they don't even want to melee. They just want to get out of there. Good move. And I'm really not interested in pursuing them because I see more units trying to cross, and we need to reform our firing line here. So yeah, get back over there, fellas. Form up in line. Let's keep these guns and ammo. So this battery scored almost 1,400 points. I mean, taking a few casualties too, but that's probably artillery casualties because they're pretty well screened from infantry fire by the skirmishers. But well, you know, that's battle. There's always going to be a few casualties. It's not like I could really do anything to keep the French guns from coming, you know, deploying kind of where they want to on the other side of the river. We're lucky they haven't brought them right up to the you know, right up to the shoreline there. So we still got a whole bunch of cavalry back there. I don't think we're gonna need it. To tell you the truth, I wish they weren't here. I wish they were south over at Limelette where they could be useful. Because boy, are we getting we're getting surrounded. We're getting surrounded by French cavalry. I need another square over here. I can't defend against this. But luckily, Tess has really made no move for the bridge. Well, let's see if we can shift this square over to the right, and then shift this other line unit into the position where this square is now. That'll give us 2 squares. That's better than nothing. I'm really just stalling for time, man. 15 minutes, that's all we got left. Let's just stall this French cavalry for as long as we can. I've somehow gotten one squadron of 44 men. Yeah, they'll do a lot of good. The rest of my cavalry is kind of stuck out here in this field. But I'm hoping as long as they're there, maybe the French cavalry won't just so cavalierly move past them. And Test Division doesn't really know what to do. They can't get across this bridge. The artillery is pounding them. I'm worried that I'm going to run out of ammo, though, with no supply wagon. So let's scroll up here towards Wavre here and see if what the closest supply wagon is to them, and maybe we can send them down the road to meet to meet up with that battery. Yeah, this is faster. Let's do this. There they go. Double quick the wagon because they don't have fatigue. Use roads and yeah, get your butts. Yeah. Well, when they get closer, we'll cancel the road movement so they don't do this roundabout movement. More cavalry is coming up the river here. All I've got is 2 squares, holding an entire French cavalry division at bay. And oh man, look how much is over there. They have truly moved in. They've got guns set up in the town. Oh, thank God there's only 12 minutes left in this scenario. This would be trouble. This would not hold for long. Alright, so our line through Wavre is still holding pretty good. Oh, we have a French column that has made it across the river. Can we give them the old canister shot right through here? Can we hit these guys? Oh my god, are you guys really going to set up and give us your flank like this? Oh, please, please. I hope these guns are getting set to just rip into these guys. I mean, this is a great target here, fellas. Let them have it. Oh boy, we have cavalry over here now. Luckily, only way across is the bridge. And if I have to, I'll form square at the other end. So I think we're banging these guys with the artillery now. I think that's what the canister I was hearing while we were looking over there at Beards. Yeah, definitely. This is the group we want to target right here. Let them have it, boys. There we go. Run. Alright, so balance has been restored over here. I'm hoping this cavalry just sits right here and runs around in circles. We really have this area covered well with guns. Although you'll notice the French have brought some artillery forward. They got guns here. That's pretty close. Gonna have to keep an eye out and see, make sure this is not in canister range of some of our skirmishers. They've got a few guns. Yeah, look at that. That's a canister shot that just hit that skirmisher unit. They've definitely got guns up to close range here. Let me tell you, the French AI surprised me with its ability to bring guns further forward in this scenario. They don't normally, they're not normally that aggressive with their artillery. So, all right, we'll back these. Luckily, this looks to be pretty the extreme range of canisters, so we'll just back that skirmisher unit off. See if we can get them out of canister range. So, all right, we're still holding. Oh dear, now I'm worried about how I'm going to defend against this. What side of the river are these guys? I'm assuming they're on this side. Oh boy. Yeah, they're definitely on this side. Hopefully these guys are just joining up with those guys and are going to sit there. God, I'm just counting down every second. Especially over here where it's like, wow, this is so precarious. Like literally, I'm just like, wow, I hope these two squares hold. And at least the cavalry over by Ligny is still kind of engaged with my cavalry here. Like they haven't really tried to move past them, which is good. It's whatever's going to delay and run the clock down at this point, I'm happy with. So we're at 20,000 points. Really, I should stop panicking about what's going on at Ligny. Nothing there is going to change a 5,000 point lead. You know. You know, nothing's going to happen in 7 minutes. It's going to change a 5,000 point lead. So, yeah, it's pretty much over. Here comes some cavalry. Can we hit them? They're definitely in range. Let's give them a moment of pause as far as just standing there. And I guess they kind of realized it on their own that that's not a good spot to be in. And out of view, they went behind the bridge. So, all right, again, we have another infantry unit that's crossed into this area. We have skirmishers covering this area. If I needed to extend this line further, I could move this unit out this way and extend skirmishers, but it doesn't look like the battle is going to move that far. So the French have guns set up here, here, and they have guns moving into position here. So they're definitely bringing a lot more artillery up. But luckily, they don't really have the time to really bring it to bear on us for long. And I think that's our canister shooting into the cavalry. I'm pretty sure our guns are not within canister range of their guns. We would see our guns retreating if they were. Once again, let's bounce back to Le Male. We're still holding Test Division at bay. This is what I was worried about now. Our skirmishers have gotten run off. Like, okay, I have to shift this square over a little bit to cover this area now. It's really hard to keep a whole cavalry division at bay with 2 infantry squares. Get the supply wagon over here fast. I'm gonna have to bring this infantry unit over and add another square. I'm pretty sure that Test Division is not making any real attempt to cross here. They haven't even approached this bridge. But I need to get this square over here. I don't have enough squares. It's not enough. So we're going to trust the skirmisher units and the artillery battery alone to hold Test at bay for 6 more minutes and bring this infantry over here, because I just don't like how open this area is, and this cavalry unit is just like right here. And you know, luckily they're running away from this square, but now all of this cavalry is coming. I need to be able to shift this square over and this square over and put this other square in here. So I'm starting to do that. I'm going to shift this square over to the right. Probably in here is a better spot. More cavalry coming. They've got more cavalry back here. They've got guns set up in the town. I mean, this is, you know, whenever they start to move, I'm done. Now these guys have crossed the bridge because I've moved that square. Of course, now Test is starting to move in. I still gotta keep an eye on Wavre because I know Peugeot's division is still pretty fresh. I don't know where they are. They've got cavalry in here now. More infantry crossing the river here. Who is he? Who are these guys? Ooh, one of my units routed. This, yeah, okay. Shift this unit over. One of my units definitely routed. There was a battalion over here. So this cavalry is trying to move forward. Bounce back to Le Male here. Oh man, the French are up my butt over here. Where are you going? What are you doing? Get back over by the objective where you belong. At least we're still gaining points from that. Alright, so we got a square set up in front of the bridge now. These guns are doing a marvelous job. They got 909 points. Just trying to get the supply wagon over here. So yeah, I'm pretty sure that these guys are kind of trapped because they can't cross the river, and the only way across is in front of the square. So yeah, here they come over here. They need to move this way. Get over there. More cavalry coming this way. They're really closing in on all sides, but only two more minutes. Come on, get into position, fellas. The cavalry is coming. I think my cavalry's been completely run off, except for this one squadron I managed to save. Skirmishers are doing excellent. Guns are doing excellent. They've really done a spectacular job at just pounding Test Division as they came up. These guys are running away from the square. Like I said, I don't think they can cross the river. They can only cross at this bridge. And my supply wagon has almost made it. So, okay, we've reclaimed this area over here. Nothing really going on. The French are on the other side of the river. I don't think the cavalry is going to be able to do anything in 1 minute. Our guns are still blasting away. You guys see why I love artillery so much. I mean, what a game changer it was once I brought all these guns up to the opposite side of this river. This unit scored 1,200 points, inflicted 1,200. These guys are heroes. The 27th Infantry Regiment of von Krasnick's Brigade. Surely they deserve a commendation. All right, 15 seconds left. I think we're gonna hold out here. What are you morons? Look at this, they're heading for the cavalry. No, dummies, you're infantry, you don't charge cavalry, you form square, get back here. However, the end is here. Major victory, there we go. So we inflicted almost 15,000 casualties. We took 4,200 casualties. We scored almost 22,000 points. So it was an overwhelming Prussian victory, as I believe the first day at Wavre was historically. And I noticed in the order of battle here that everyone is under Grouchy, including von Thielmann, including the Prussians. These are all the French forces, and then the Prussians are also under Grouchy. So yeah, I'm pretty sure that he should be separate. But yeah, so these are all our commands under. We have von Bork's division, and they did pretty good at 4,000 points. Von Kempen's division. Lag und Winton really didn't get too involved. And these are some of the units down at Wavre. So down at Lamale and Limelette. So yeah, that's it for the Prussian scenario for the Battle of Wavre. Really, no great strategy to that one, guys. I didn't have any kind of plan other than just do my damnedest to hold those crossings. And keep, you know, the idea is basically keep the French on the opposite side of the Dyle River as much as you possibly can. You know, and I used a lot of skirmishers and a lot of guns to try and do that. Obviously, the hairiest moments of this scenario are at the very beginning. The first half hour is the hardest part because you're instantly attacked by the French, and you're not really in a position to set things up the way I would normally set up a defense. You pretty much just have to take what the French have coming to you. You know, what they're dishing out. They're just going to charge across the bridge, and you know, you saw they ate up like 2 or 3 Prussian battalions in a couple of minutes. They just ate them up, gobbled them up, and you know, really, it wasn't until we started sending in a lot of the reserve units that we had back behind the town that we were able to start pushing the French back across, you know, back to the bridge and back across the river. So yeah, just be ready for the fact that the first 30 minutes of this battle are really, really crazy. You're going to get charged. Your units are going to get eaten up. Just be prepared to commit your reserves liberally. And then when things start to settle down after about 30 minutes or so, you can start cycling your more tired units out and cycle some fresh units in. And then as the battle goes on and those units get tired, the ones that you previously pulled back will have recovered, and you can recycle them back into battle. And once things start settling down, then you can start to bring your guns to the more southwestern side of Wavre, and the area between Wavre and the Birges, and you know the area by Lamale and Limelette. Just do the best you can. You don't have a lot to work with back there. Just keep the guns by that bridge where I had them. Put a couple of skirmisher units in front of them, and just do the best you can with the French cavalry if they come over there. It's so overwhelming that there's really nothing you can do. I mean, you have nothing to work with over there. It's just it's one battery, a couple of infantry units, and a very small cavalry detachment. Um, so just do the best you can to delay them. Be willing to give up Limelette, and try and you know keep Test Division separated from the French cavalry, from Strolz's division as much as possible, so that the artillery and the skirmishers can handle Test Division while your infantry squares kind of keep the French uh, cavalry on the Limelette side of things, and not able to get over and charge your guns or your skirmishers. So your battery is basically just try your I'm sorry your squares are basically just trying to hold the French back, uh, from getting to the guns and getting to the skirmishers, because if that happens, that's how Test Division will get across. So yeah, just you don't have a lot to work with over there. Just do the best you can at stalling the French cavalry. You might even be able to. You might be better off not attacking them like I did. You probably are better off not attacking them like I did, and instead just give up the Limelette area and pull your cavalry back to Lamale to link up with your infantry. That's probably a smarter move than what I did. Um, because I largely squandered my cavalry thinking I could do any kind of real damage to a whole French cavalry division. Really, I should have just given up Limelette and taken my cavalry and linked it up with my infantry, um, at Lamale, and made my stand there. I think it would have been a little bit of a better move. Um, but yeah, other than that, guys, like I said, it's a pretty straight ahead, just totally defensive scenario. Guard the crossings, guard the fords, bring your artillery forward and screen them with skirmishers so you can inflict maximum amount of damage while the French are trying to get across the fords, and just blow the crap out of them with canister fire. And hold on to the objectives for as long as you can. Most of them you can hold on to for the whole time. Um, and even though they're not worth a lot over 2 hours, you are getting a couple of thousand points from them. Um, so yeah, and just yeah, use your cannon to try and inflict as many casualties on the French as you can, because casualties are points, and you need a lot of them in this scenario because the objectives just aren't worth a whole heck of a lot. All right, so that's it, guys. So next time we will do uh, the French scenario for the Battle of Wavre, which is much harder, because you don't start out with any of the objectives, so you have to attack and you have to inflict. They're still not worth a lot, and you have to inflict a lot of casualties on the Prussians. So you really have to attack like a maniac. All right, guys. So I will see you next time. Take it easy.